Steadfast and loving Lord, bless this Lindsborg community of people you have gathered together. Give the members of our community grateful hearts for the blessings we enjoy. Lead us to obey the laws we have established, and give us a concern for the privileges and responsibilities of every community member. Guide those who are gathered here at this council meeting to conduct the business of our community. Give them wisdom for difficult tasks, sensitivity to the needs of our community, and keep them mindful of their sacred trust in public office. Lord, you know all things, and you see the end from the time of beginning. You are never at a loss to know what to do next. The marvels of your creation and the miracles that you work among us testify to your infinite wisdom. We, on the other hand, are often perplexed by the problems of life. Often we do not know which way to turn next. Send us your Holy Spirit and direct us that we may recognize what is your will as we make decisions. Give us the courage to follow your will and trust your promises of presence and love. Be present, Lord, in this meeting and in our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Public input?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. Hi. Step up, please.
Good evening, my name is Chad Jones. How are you all tonight?
Thank you, good.
What I have is a petition to raise the speed limit on Harrison Cole from 30 to 35 miles an hour. And I put this together probably about 2 months ago. Went around and got 50 signatures. And thought I'd present it to you, your honorable council tonight. What is the process for submitting the petition? Do I just give this to you, or?
That is correct, and we take public input and we'll assign it to one of our committees.
So Mayor, should I just bring this up to you right now? So
That'd be great.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your input, and we'll be back in touch.
Thank you.
All right, we'll submit it to our committee.
Is your contact information on that?
No, it's
Why
not.
don't you just give it to me?
Okay. Chad Jones. And then my information is 16 Willow Lake Drive. Here in Lindsborg. 75 577 0748.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Amendments to the agenda.
We have one.
Thank you.
We add under public safety, geotechnical engineering proposals for the Lindsborg EMS facility.
Any other amendments? Hearing none, we'll move on to Mayor's report. I'd like to report that Greg and I attended McPherson Solid Waste Utility annual meeting on the 20th of May. We went to the new site for the cell that they're building out south of town. Very impressive there, and information about what they're doing with balers and the extent of how that will extend the life of that cell that they have and that. And it was
South of what?
South of Lindsborg. It's I can't tell you how many miles. It's before the golf course, and you go left or go.
Not where the site is. Yes.
Excuse me, that is currently where it is.
Oh.
It's actually beyond what the currently was out there, demolition site and hazardous waste site. It's on the other side of the
Okay.
road, and they built a baler building and a scale house, and they'll continue to take C&D and that out there along with all the other trash will go to McPherson, and be transferred back to there to be baled up and bales put in the cell that they have, a line cell and all that that's been going on.
Thanks for
So,
coming.
yep. I also want to talk about when we were there, we came back to the JO and had our meal here and had information in that, and some of the information that they gave was about diversion rates or recycling. The state average is about 25%, solid waste utility average is about 40% diversion, and Lindsborg's average is 31%. So on the average weekly basis, there are about 18 tons that come out of Lindsborg of trash. Every 2 weeks, they divert 7.64 tons through the blue polycart system, And the addition to that is the drop-off side still continues to be about 8.3 tons through there. So I think that site's being used considerably also. We did also, one of the items they talked about was during the flood, that they took out 220 tons of waste, or at that point, 1 ton of hazardous waste. So basically, in about 10 days, it took away three months worth of trash out of the community here. Good things that they did, and thank the public again for their support during that time that we needed in that. So, strong advocate for recycling. It doesn't look good to see all the blue cars out, but I hope that people continue to do that and use it more and more. So it's very much encouraged. Along with that, the general meetings this month, we had a very special meeting on our citizens.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Rebecca?
please. Yeah.
On the recycling. We have talked here in this body many times about the importance of education.
Yes.
In talking to a lot of people, they're still very confused about different things about these blue
Okay.
cards and all this stuff. And we were all given a
Flyer.
flyer that had all the dates. These are the dates that the blue card goes out and all that. I happen to live on the block that John Hawk lives on, so I always feel very safe in putting my blue card out there. But I wonder if it would be worthy of a committee discussion. Just talking about, is there something more that we can do to get our 31% up?
I agree on that, and I think also just the discussion again with John and the solid waste utility is, and they talked about that, they just started in person the day before we were out there, or the day of, and it was like the windiest 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds, and they had trash, recyclables everywhere and all of that. And they talked about the need to go back and re-educate and do some of that. So I think visiting with them about what their plans are as far as re-education, I think that'd be great, and we can also bring it up in the committee and do that. That's a great idea. Thank you, Vic. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the citizen survey public meetings will be coming up on June the 10th. We're going to have 2 meetings that day, 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Try and meet the crowd, those elected, and they get up early and get here by 7. We're going to review what the survey was. We thank everybody for their participation in that. If I'm correct, we had about 49% return.
Correct.
On that out of the 1,200 surveys that we send out. So that's a great return. Some great positive things will come from that, but we want to bring that to the community and get further input from you and also tell you what the survey showed. So please get that on your calendar for June the 10th, 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. at that point. Committees will be the week of the 24th. Keep that in mind, and also Midsummer's coming up on the 21st. Another great festival in Lindsborg, and a chance to wear your costumes and be a part of the festivities that day. So please look for those things coming in the future. Any questions of the mayor today?
I've heard a lot of wonderful comments from people about the water gun front porch Friday, last Friday. And with the fire department, it's kind of the hit of the day. So I think that's a great way for them to be involved. And it was a real community builder kind of thing. We were always looking for those things. So that group of people that were on that, huge kudos.
Thank you very much for reminding me of that. So, appointments?
Sure.
There are none. June meetings, we've talked about planning and zoning.
Excuse me, Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
you neglected the minutes.
I neglected the minutes. Well, let's go back and take care of the minutes. Approval of minutes of May 5th, 2014, regular council meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have 2 motions. Pick your choice. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you for reminding me. Planning and zoning, there's information in there, the thing that I need to get down, there's training coming up for council, and possible dates are the 23rd, 24th, 26th, and 27th, and I'm going to turn it over to Greg for timing and that kind of thing.
Of what month?
This month.
June, yes. Gary's been working with Jim Cowell, and he's attorney. He'll be doing training on the 17th for the Planning and Zoning Commission,
with follow-up training for city council on those 4 days. Gary details in terms of length of time, et cetera, on that training. Can you provide that, please?
Jim has about a 40-page handout that you'll be able to review in advance regarding land use regulations and zoning issues. And the law, I believe we want Bill Gacinas to attend.
And you will plan to, yes.
We're looking at 2 to 3 hours.
And the date again?
Again,
We're trying to set it up for the week following the planning and zoning meeting on the 17th. So
please get your calendars out if you have them with you, and let's talk about it real quick.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday are the available dates the following week.
We're looking at an evening meeting, starting at
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock for 3 hours.
Up to you.
Please plan on 3 hours for that time. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
I can't do Thursday or Friday. I can do
Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday.
Tuesday is the only day I can do it.
Anything but Friday.
Let's look at Tuesday, everybody. Please look at the 24th if you have your calendar. Does anybody have any concerns on Tuesday, the 24th, 7 p.m. for a 3-hour allotment meeting? We'll set it for that day. Tuesday, the 24th, again, 7 p.m. Please allow 3 hours for that. You'll make sure those that are not here will have that information, Gary.
Yes.
Anything else for P and Z? Let's move on to Administration and Finance Committee.
First item is the issuance of bonds. And Jeff Cooley is here, so welcome.
Good evening. At 11 o'clock this morning, the city received bids for $2,635,000 worth of GO bonds to do the permanent financing for the Sunstrom Hospital District. And we received 4 bids. But before I talk about the bids, I want to say the decision was made to apply for a financial rating on this issue. So we applied to Moody's Investors Service to get the bonds rated. What that does is that it makes us more of a national market. And because of the size of the bond issue, we felt it would attract more bids in this market. And they're kind of demanding a rating more than they used to. So on this side of the issue, we went ahead and applied. Greg and Larry and I were involved in an interview, about an hour and a half long interview with Moody's. We submitted financial information, data, the preliminary official statement. Greg and Larry did an excellent job in the interview of describing the city and telling about the current financial situation. The result was we got a Moody's A2, which is the middle of the A category rating, which is a good rating for a small community like this. So I was very pleased, and I think Greg was happy with it, and Larry. So
Just to add a note to that, Chuck. In speaking with Moody's after the rating, that is the highest rating we could get for the community our size.
you know, Moody's and Standard & Poor's are used to rating communities with several 100,000 people or more for the most part. So it was a little unusual, but I felt because of the reputation of the city and your financial situation and the conservative nature of your community, that it would make sense for us to do it, and it did. And so we got a good outcome. So at 11 o'clock this morning, we received bids, and we received 4 bids. And you should all have a bid tab in front of you, I hope. That's those bids on it. Commerce Bank was the low bidder with a true interest cost of 3.1248%. BOSC Inc. was second bid with a true interest cost of 3.168%. Hutchison Shockey Early was 3.169%. And Robert W. Baird was 3.214%. So those are the 4 bids we received. So there are 3 actions you need to consider at this point. First would be, I think we're all on your agenda. First would be to consider action on the low bid of Commerce Bank out of Kansas City. And second would be to consider adopting the bond ordinance. And third would be to consider adopting the bond resolution. So I'll stop and see if you might have questions for me.
Questions, council?
Why is the total interest cost on Commerce Bank more than Hutchison?
Why not?
Because we saw this, anybody that looks at numbers.
What you go by, and common in the market today is you go by the true interest cost. If you'll also notice, Commerce Bank is paying a premium of $102,076. So when you present value that check that they're gonna give you up front, you present value the cost of borrowing money over that period of time, you come out with the true interest cost, which is, Commerce is the little bit on the true interest cost basis, which is the way we typically award bonds in today's world, so.
Good deal.
Good question. Other questions around the room? So if I understand correctly, Chuck, that we need a motion to accept the Commerce.
Yes,
Let's start with that. That's the first.
First action.
Okay.
Move we approve Commerce Bank.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Second item then is to approve ordinance 48.
68.
I had a finger before I got it out, I'm sorry.
Are you sure you don't want to roll call that vote, just since we're,
We do want to roll call that vote, Jerry.
Absolutely.
Thank you for bringing it to
Let me make it up here, hang on. Okay, Betty,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
W.R.
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Eno,
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg. Next item is ordinance 4868.
Authorizing issuance of public building bonds. Jeff, you have to say that?
This just formally authorizes the issuance of bonds. And then the second item, the resolution sets out the details of the actual interest rates, the flow of funds and such as that.
All right, move we approve ordinance 4868.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on ordinance 4868 authorizing the issuance of public building bonds?
Where does this, we have plenty of bonding capacity. Is that right? I mean, we always talk about. our
yes,
bonding
from a bonding capacity standpoint, yes, we have.
Good question. Any other questions? Roll call.
Betty.
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
W.R.
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Eno,
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution number 0514 authorizing and directing sale and delivery of public building bonds. Is there a motion?
Move we approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Betty,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
W.R.
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Eno,
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other items?
Just a comment. When the closing of the bond issue, we'll use the funds, part of the funds to pay off temporary notes that we issued almost 2 years ago now, I think, to actually finance the construction. So basically, this is the permanent financing and pays off the temporary financing.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
And this long project is on road, whatever, he's going to have another change order here. Gary, you want to talk to that, or somebody talk to that?
We had some inevitable changes. We knew about fire alarms or fire sprinkler extras on the second floor social project. There were a number of other ads that we approved in the running. I believe the agenda worksheet shows those items. Roof hatch framing. We had some problems with conference room doors that we discovered after the layout. Also a storage room door. We had a big conflict on the restroom wall in the men's side, a conflict with refrigerant lines that had been placed. I believe this was in part because we didn't really have an engineer on the project to point that out to us. And then finally, we added restroom wall tile for preservation of those walls. We missed that original request for bids. Full amount $13,575. That reflects about 8% of the total cost of the second floor rebuild. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I'm going to presume that it's too late for this to be rolled over into the bond
In terms of, you mentioned engineering architectural services, but what was the estimate cost from the architect for those services?
Well, originally it was $40,000 to $50,000.
So this is a fraction of
Yes. We labored over this as a committee. I mean, at what level do we provide engineering and pay for it? And it was, it was a gamble, but I think we came out well ahead. And I do believe that the first event was quite successful. Very happy for the project, glad to see it done. But I do ask that you approve the changes so that I don't have to wait more.
And move we approve these?
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approval to J.C. Builders in the amount of $13,575. Is there any additional questions?
I have a question. Is Holly here? There you go.
Yes, go ahead.
Please step up to the microphone.
You mentioned in the Friday report already having 2 functions upstairs?
Yes, we had our last one. We had one already.
Yeah, or 1 already.
Mhm.
Okay, and you felt that that was well received, that the building was well received?
Yes.
And you mentioned in there 500 people?
It was over 500 for 2 events.
Or 2 events?
2
That's-
events.
Okay.
Not both on the same floor.
Say it again?
They were not both on the same floor.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, I just wondered what the response of the people who were putting out the dollars for rent.
The response that we've received so far has been positive in that it is a nice size space in a nice new facility that has been well maintained and is brand new. There's nothing in the Salina, McPherson, or Hutchinson area of this quality at this point in time. There's simply is not.
Great, thank you so much.
Holly, before you step away, additional questions. Since this would have been our first event upstairs, and somebody had to be on the lower floor, at least trafficking through, working down there, whatever, any noticeable transference of noise from the
I
upstairs to
haven't
the
heard
downstairs?
anything about that. I would have to ask Katie that question.
Okay.
Additional questions of anybody, staff-wise? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Becky? Yes. Seymour?
Yes.
David?
Yes?
Debbie R?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Anything else, Becky?
No.
Okay. Utilities committee, please.
Utilities Committee has only one item on it for tonight, and that is the proposed purchase of a power and energy logger, which means that it's noting the amount of volts that are coming through the wiring. Electric department has had some problems with an owner who thinks they're not getting enough volts into their business. So the electric department has proposed purchasing, to be specific, AEMC PEL 103 power and energy logger. It's capable of logging and recording voltage and amperage across all 3 phases of a circuit. This cost of this is $1,795.50, and is already, they know where that money will come out from, and it will be out of commodities.
David, name of the vendor is?
I'm sorry, I forgot.
Just Equipment Depot.
Thank you.
Test equipment, what?
Depot.
Okay.
Did I say it all right, Tim?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
David, was that a motion?
Yes, I make the motion that we purchase this meter for $1,795.50.
I would second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded with any clarification possibly for Jerry.
I just need, does that include shipping?
It's free shipping.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yes, that is shipped.
Okay.
Definitely.
Is this something that
No, it's not a one and done. It's something we could have used several times over the years, and we expect to use it many times in the future.
To clarify also, the city is responsible for the transmission of electricity to the meter.
Before he answers, he's gonna step up at the microphone, so those are right on the TV can hear us.
Is that not correct?
Go ahead.
The city is responsible for the transmission of electricity to the meter.
There are some exceptions, but generally.
Generally speaking, okay, we'll go with that. And then, the wiring from the meter to the place of usage, in this case, a mobile home park, if this is found to be, if your part of the electricity is found to be adequate and their end of it is inadequate after using all of this, then it will be up to them to make necessary corrections.
Yes.
Tim, their readings, were they at the meter or were they in their residence or wherever that may be?
Well, it's business, and
And the pole at the,
it was, their circuit was split, and it was on one of the branch circuits.
Okay. I was just wondering because I was gonna say if it was on theirs, you know, it'd be pretty easy to have some voltage drop between.
Yes.
all of them.
We borrowed a meter so that we could move forward with it. We were a little shy because it was 300 feet of heavy secondary line and an old transformer. So we're gonna change out the transformer and shorten the run. But he also has issues, we both had issues at this place. So.
thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
So the original concern has already been identified and now we're buying a meter?
Still need one. I borrowed one that's not going to be available all the time
Okay.
from the city person.
The other problem is, Betty, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have three-phase.
They have single phase only.
Oh, you have single-phase, but you bring
They could log, but they can't do amperage and voltage at the same time. And they can only do one phase at a time. We'll be able to do all phases, voltage and amperage.
when you're working with this electricity like this, being sure that you have adequate voltage is great. And I think this is a good tool to have for your.
Yeah, we want to make sure we're delivering what we say.
It'll allow us to, for questions of power quality, address those issues with accuracy, is what it does. And it will be used more than just this one specific instance.
Additional questions? Hearing none, the motion is there. Roll call, please, Jerry. Tim, you might stay there.
Becky?
Yes.
Emil?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Debbie R?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
As far as I know, there are no other.
Streets and Parks.
The first item is McPherson Street, Highway K4 bid. Basically, we have two options to look at or to consider. The base bid in the amount of $513,257.55. And we have an alternate bid in the amount of $589,616.90. I move to recommend the low base bid of $513,257.55 to Boats or Arga Construction, thank you. Be accepted contingent upon KDOT's approval. Once KDOT approves, they will issue an authority to award, releasing the city to send the notice of award and contract documents. That is a motion.
Second.
They'll give you a copy of that. Moved and seconded to go with the low bid. Are there any questions?
I guess I'd like to maybe have Greg go ahead and just give a much more detailed explanation than what I read off this piece of paper.
Second that.
We were able to piggyback 2 CLEAP grants for the reconstruction of K4 on McPherson Street from Cole to Main. Under the CLEAP grant program through KDOT, they will pay 75% of the participating costs, and we are responsible for 25% of the participating costs and all non-participating costs. Under the program, curb and gutter is not considered a participating cost. And so really, while there is some curb and gutter in the base bid, it's not replacing all the curb and gutter along that section of street. On the alternate 1 bid, it's replacing all the curb and gutter along. Yes.
I'm sorry, alternate one,
Alternate, it's replacing all the curb and gutter along that street. And let me get to that. So that is a difference in the bid. From the city's match standpoint, on the base bid, the match for our 25% plus the non-participating, which would be $19,237.50 for curb and gutter. That total match is $142,742.51. For the alternate 1, the city's match is $219,101.86. That's 25% plus for non-participating fly ash treated subgrade of, gotta expand now, my eyes aren't that good, $13,826 plus another $81,770 that we would have to pay. This would be paid, or the plan is to pay our match through the Special Streets Fund. Currently has a balance of $271. I'm sorry, 270. We're in trouble.
What do you think about that?
Let me take my motion back.
$271,711.07, and that was as of April 3rd. The bid itself was for the base bid that had a match of $142,742.51. That's also my recommendation. The reason being is as we look at streets, to use $218,000 for the match lowers that fund to basically a balance of $52,000. It really doesn't give us much to address the issues after the completion of the street study that has already been contracted to do.
Question, do we run into the same thing that we did with the DOT where they are still short-staffed? And much like our downtown streets repair, this probably is going to spring out for repairs.
Well, I'll answer your question this way. Both of these projects, both the downtown project and this K4 project, through the Bureau of Local Projects. The difference is they've been doing streets projects for years, streets, roads, highways, they know it. The downtown project, which used to have a whole separate division of KDOT that managed it, is no longer there. They're trying to learn how to do the transportation enhancement program. This is straightforward for them. The old transportation enhancement stuff that they're now trying to manage is new to them. So I don't see any big issues in Tim. You can.
Well, that I'm handled in line of the other. This one's ready to go as of July 1. And as a point of information, the contractor has a previous job that in person that it may be delayed, which would bring him here quicker. If he has to do that on the schedule that they originally contracted for. They would start K4 in August. So those are two dates. Probably July 1 or, you
And
know,
the estimated time?
70 days.
And do what, they close one lane at a time for
No.
construction?
We're going to close it from First to Cole and then over to Second to Main. They're going to try to leave First open as much as they can. If we, by giving it all to them, they're going to get done probably 30 days quicker.
So those businesses that have entrances,
All of them have an entrance on the Union except, well, even Columbia Windows does. And we're going to build a shoe fly. We're going to build a little extra road for them on the Union while this is under construction.
and what about truck traffic?
Everything else goes to Lincoln.
Aren't there farm and truck vehicles that can't travel on Main?
Have to find out. I don't think we have any restrictions other than, we don't have any.
Anything from weather related?
Both. Because we had some issues with some of Mid-Kansas co-op vehicles that we didn't want on the brick streets.
They're running every day.
I see them drive by
Yeah.
the shop all the time.
I think the issue had nothing to do with capacity of the street and had everything to do with the issue of just going up and down Main Street.
Safety. Visual safety. Tim, are there areas out there that have bad curbing and that we could replace before?
Sorry, what?
Are there areas that have curbing that's broken up, that's bad, that we would replace before this project?
We have already done all the broken. We did that before last year.
Okay,
They're worried about areas that are there's 675 feet that are going to be done as part of the project as we're letting it. Those are either the side of the inlets. We want to make sure the grade is adjusted to those inlets. The rest of it's actually in pretty good shape. This is more of a grading, flow line elevation
okay.
change that they're putting in here as opposed to broken or curb gutter. We already fixed all the broken.
The area where the trail passes over that's already concrete, does that stay?
That's finished.
Are there ever any drainage problems over that?
No, it's a delicate little balance there at Second Street, because that drains clear back from the curve on Main Street. But we've got it working quite well now. As long as and we're not touching that as part of this project, so that should all remain.
Additional questions in the room? Hearing none, roll call.
Becky? Yes. Steve?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
W.R.?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Betty? Yes.
Next item is the discussion of federal transportation trust fund. It's, I guess, it's set to expire September 30th, 2014. This is resolution number 4-14. Basically, a resolution in support of a new federal transportation program. This is a motion to adopt resolution number 404-14.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion about 04-14?
A little clarification with the project, the scope of the project, or whatever you're talking about.
Currently, the Highway Trust Fund and the Federal Transportation Program is set to expire with no renewal program in place, which means currently through the federal program, there's money that flows through to states, flows through to cities. For instance, our CLEAP grant, while we're getting it from the state, a lot of that is federal dollars that flow through KDOT. Those types of programs would go away because the lack of funding. Additionally, the Highway Trust Fund is projected to run out of money by the end of the summer, even before the end of this federal fiscal year. Right now, there's no program that's been adopted to take its place at the expiration of the end of this federal fiscal year. And what it is that this resolution is encouraging the federal delegations, Congress, President to adopt a new federal transportation program and to also seek the inputs of states, counties, and cities in the development of that program.
Why is the date February 11, 2013? In this resolution?
That is to be corrected.
Today.
It's today, yes.
Isn't this what we
You didn't know
did?
you adopted that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Didn't remember that far, okay.
And because Lindsborg passes this resolution, we have hopes the government will just pop back into alignment? Or are we working?
If it were just that easy.
With some other entities that you know of?
This is an initiative of the National League of Cities. Yeah, okay.
Additional comments or questions? Hearing none, those in favor of 0414, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Next item deals with the Playground Improvement Fund. The city's received a check for $501 from the Playground Improvement Fund. Historically, we have redeposited this money back into the Playground Improvement Fund with the Smoky Valley Community Foundation. I would make a motion that we do that again in order to build this fund up.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
One of the questions that came up in committee is what can it be used for? It cannot be used for maintenance. It has to be for an improvement or the expansion of the playgrounds. It cannot be used for maintenance. And that is as defined as the direction is.
And currently, the fund in its entirety prior to the return of the $500 million, the principal is,
You're going to make me go back to, hold on, I'll find it for you.
ballpark figure?
You're asking me to ballpark something I see once a year.
And the expenditure comes out of parks?
It is just redepositing the check that we received.
Because it's an organization or a project fund, the interested adherence is eligible to be paid back to the organization to be used as they want to. They can either use it for the purchase for something new, or you can put it back into grow the principal. But that grant amount
Who's going to make that decision?
would be ours because it was turned back over to the council from the original playground committee, isn't that right?
For $501, we don't know.
The balance right now This was as of 3/31, $13,890.59.
And what is called the playground fund? That was called-
Lindsborg Playground Improvement Fund, which is part of the Smoky Valley Community Foundation.
Are there wishes and plans or ideas or for this? Huh?
Wait for it to get bigger.
The wish is the interest rates would go up, so it would accumulate, because all we get off of this is the interest that accumulates during the year less an administrative fee. So next year we may get $600. And I can tell you, buying a park bench is $500. So I think the real, as we said in,
I was going to say, I had a request the other day for a park bench in there.
yeah.
I said, oh, you
Well, I would,
What other sorts of funds for this fund are there? Meaning besides this kind of gift?
This is interest only. Gifts can come from anybody that
Yeah.
might go to the playground fund through the community foundation. So
But where it can, but where does it?
people that donate.
Individuals.
Individuals, companies, whoever feels
Okay.
the desire to.
But is there active discussion? I guess I would go to Streets and Parks people on that committee. Is there active discussion about an evaluation of, say, Viking Valley? Should anything be happening there? And I just had a person ask me if there could be an additional park bench there. And I said, I don't know that.
Seems like a good idea, though.
And I just didn't know where, is that something that you guys have discussed recently?
No, we have not. No, we have not.
what if that 13,000 is available at any given time?
Probably none.
I was going to say, I don't think any of it is.
Just the interest from that.
Just the interest.
Yeah.
Just the purpose of
Yeah, that's what it's
trying
about.
to attain,
But if there, as many funds in the community foundation, I'm going to talk about the J. Steinberg Fund, it's the new scholarship fund that's in there now. People are actively being asked to contribute to that fund, so that fund can grow. So we know that the goal is $25,000 for that scholarship fund. And that will enable them to get a scholarship once a year or whatever amount of money that is. So for the Lindsborg Playground Improvement Fund, are there goals and wishes that are outside of city budget that have been talked about or wished upon or anything? Where would a picnic or a park bench come into play? How would did they go talk to Gary, parks person? Would they talk to Kate or park for recreation? Where do those discussions happen? That's the question.
Well, I mean, if somebody's requesting a new park bench or the relocate, if it's a new park bench, then they would go to Streets and Parks, and that's where that discussion would happen.
And any improvements on Viking, I'm going to point out Viking Valley. I know that there's other, and this playground improvement fund doesn't necessarily just mean Viking Valley.
No, it does not. For instance, Carlson Park, if we wanted to put some type of playground apparatus in that park.
Any playground throughout the city.
Well, see, that's why I said it's defined as the improvement and expansion of playgrounds. That's how narrow and wide that is, so.
Well, Gary, have you done an evaluation of Viking Valley?
I believe we did one, we did a detailed one in 2012. And it pointed towards maintenance issues.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering. And has that all been addressed?
We do it out of the ongoing budget, the city fund.
And there's always been enough money within that budget to do whatever you're seeing needs to be done.
Oh, there's always room for more.
But what I'm saying is that I think as a city that has limited funds, there are people that this is something that's near and dear to their heart, and they want to help, and they would be glad to buy a park bench if that's something that we decided that we needed, but we didn't have money within budget. And and I remember the maintenance stuff, kind of wood or not wood.
Well, I guess it might be appropriate, I guess, if somebody approaches you, that they see the need for that bench, that should be forwarded on to that committee, and then we would have that information when you ask about it at council. So maybe we could have discussed it prior to council in committee.
No, what I'm meaning
But we haven't
is,
received that information until now, that there was a
their
request.
question was, how do you do this? And I said, well, I think if we work through committee. And I couldn't even answer the question for sure if there was a specific committee about Viking Valley, because that's what they were talking about. And I said, I don't think there is a committee anymore, is there?
I can't think of a current grassroots effort to improve the park. Now, from time to time, the playgrounds in the parks. From time to time, we do get a citizen offer to replace a particular piece of gear that they don't want. But it's rare. And I think what I'm hearing is that there should be more effort placed in fundraising outside of city revenues.
Well, I mean, if there is a plan, to say it would be really wonderful if we ever had the money to do whatever. Because I think that there are people that would care about that. And they could either give money to the foundation, and they could only be interest there.
So what I'm hearing today, just so we can kind of get off center here though, there is a possibility of a bench. Somebody feels that we should do a bench in Viking Valley. At this point, do you want to table this and because that's $500, it might buy a bench. That's the only, if this is the fund we think it could be available to buy a bench. If you table it this month and have Gary or whoever do the research, you connect them up with whoever thinks they need to be there, and let's talk about it and see if this bench is an idea. And if it comes in at $4.99, we're there and all of that, or whatever. Is that an option there?
Is that a good shipping?
Free shipping if you go to Amazon Prime.
Would a bench be paid for under special parks?
I mean, it could be.
That's there.
Yes, it could be.
Because the concept is to grow the fund, and yes, it could probably definitely use some more promotions. Some would be like Community Foundation, and walk us up a list of all the funds that you can contribute to. I don't think we as a city have done any active promotion, but because I asked the question if that money could be used for park improvements in preparation of the sesquicentennial. Ooh, I almost got it out there. And it was, the greater good, the bigger goal is probably to grow the special parks fund. So I would suggest that we go with the recommendation of the committee and reinvest that $501 in the special, the playground improvement fund, and look at another way of acquiring an additional bench.
I'll agree. I think we need to go ahead and reinvest that money, and I'm not trying to discount one person that says we need a bench, but.
Well, I say we need a bench too.
Okay, so two people. But I think we would be better served by reinvesting this money, look at the issue, bring it to committee, talk to Gary about the bench, and then we can move on.
Here's a plan. Why don't we have a vote? You can vote and how you wish to go. We will also bring it to committee for discussion going forward based on a $501 possible bench or based on special parks fund and have Gary do some research on that. So
I do think I'm agreeing with Becky in that I think there are still lots of things around the city, such as in the parks like that that people are willing to give a donation for a specific thing in the park if we just let them know that it's needed.
So in other words, you're talking about the development of actually a wish list of
Sure.
improvement, of donate, or a solicitation for donations for improvements, which is probably worthy of further discussion.
Yeah, because I mean, that could really open up a whole can of worms. Because what I think would be appropriate for Viking Valley or something else, the committee, parks may not feel is appropriate.
But if Parks developed a wish list, it could be
You're contributing to the,
Exactly. I think that needs to be developed first.
committee to buy or to approve one of these things. You know, buy a park bench yourself, probably.
I will say this though, I wish we could invest more in that because the interest rate on that sure as heck beats all that money we try to see we spend.
It does, doesn't it?
We get out on everything.
They do a good job.
I'm going to step in and say that I'm in favor of reinvesting this money. I bet if we need a park bench, we can find a way to get a park bench. And let this fund grow a little bit to a point that it could actually really do us some good down the road.
With that, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor of
Are we
reinvesting,
voting on what?
reinvesting the 501 back into the Smoky Valley Community Foundation Fund? Is everybody clear on the motion? To reinvest, that is the question. Roll call.
Betty?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
WR?
Yes.
David?
Yes?
Emil?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
With that, I'll also ask staff to bring to Parks Committee the idea of a possible wish list and discussion of pros and cons, what that might be, and how we might be able to put that together and give it a narrow enough scope that we don't get the things that we can all worry about all night.
And we can discuss the fact that we do have a policy on donations, plantings.
I think we have this advisory
Established several years ago.
less than.
So we're not advertising. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for streets and parks?
I don't have any others.
Public safety, please.
The motion is to recommend approval of an increase in the honorariums that are given to our EMS volunteers for Sunday coverage from 1 point to 3 points. I understand that the month of May, is that right, saw kind of a trial run of this to see if it provided enough incentive to provide that coverage, and that was successful. And so the committee is taking up the recommendation to increase the honorarium from 1 to 3 points for Sunday service of our EMS volunteers.
Would you explain what
I'll second
points
that.
mean? Sorry.
I'll second.
What the points mean? I mean, in terms of the person. 1 point to 3 points, was that?
Points basically add to $10. Point is about $10. There is on the honorarium near the bottom, it says effective date June 2nd, 2006. I didn't know if that was an error or just pointed out to me.
No, that is correct.
That's correct, okay.
But-
I thought I'd ask.
But in our discussion, we said I could approve it for 30 days. So for the month of May, it was a trial period under my authority, but the actual full changeover to the program has to be approved by city council. Oh, 2006.
Yes.
Okay.
We thought it was retroactive.
It is, well, just for you, but you're not guaranteed, so.
So I didn't know if that was,
That's a good catch, I think. Will this be, permanent then, long-term?
right, this would make it more.
I think that's very reasonable for Sunday coverage. I think it does provide, it appears to provide the incentive that's required for people to
Other questions about this?
Do we need to modify the motion because of the, or this is just a narrative, that's part of the ordinance? Or
It's
the-
policy.
The policy. Do we need to, I mean, this is a typo. Does the motion need to change?
Clerk says no,
Okay.
no changes.
So we've got a motion and a second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Under other is something that we did not discuss in committee, and it is the proposal you have in front of you from Clark Architecture and Design and Geotechnical Engineering proposals.
Yeah, I didn't receive this until today. We talked about it briefly Friday afternoon. They want to come in to do a ground test, and they bore into the ground. One of the proposals is to go 15 feet, the other is to go 20 feet. I think they tested 5. So the architect didn't believe that it was necessary for the extra 5 feet, especially as much more as you pay for that extra 5 feet compared to the second bid. So the recommendation is to go with the low bid.
Pardon my ignorance. Geotechnical.
Fancy way to say they're checking the soil for stability, water levels, et cetera, to make sure that when a foundation, et cetera, goes in, that they can engineer it properly for the soil conditions that are under. Yes,
Proposed building behind the scenes.
correct.
Will we anticipate this?
I would say I wasn't anticipating it, but I don't know if anybody else was.
For the sake
I mean,
of,
if people are going to build something, I mean, it doesn't seem like out of the realm
No, it
of
doesn't.
reason to think this is a necessary thing to do.
for the sake of discussion, do you want a motion on the table?
Would you like to make a motion?
Well, I don't know if you want to.
Go ahead.
I would make the motion that we accept the loan proposal from GSI Engineers for a lump sum of $1,900 for this engineering proposal.
We have a second.
Second.
Was there more than one bid?
There should be two.
On this?
Yeah, there's two.
2890 and the 19th.
Allied Laboratories and GSI Engineers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, we're not going to go forward and build something if we're going to work a building on, so. Also, did have a house on it for quite a long time, and the house didn't fall through the ground, so I'm assuming this building will be heavier than the house.
Yes.
You know.
To respond to the mayor's addressing a question regarding funding, since this wasn't specifically budgeted, but it would be included within the budget allowed for the construction of
That's
the
correct.
EMS
So
building.
that was 150,000.
Other questions, council members?
So we need to adjust the motion. The motion was just for $1,900, wasn't it? Or
Just a little bit.
Isn't the total amount needed $1,900?
So we can assume that if the home that we own did not have geotechnical advice, that it might fall through. Mine's had 112 years to,
Settled?
yeah.
You also have to think about water table and stuff like that.
No, I don't have
anything like that.
Everybody else.
They're gonna think that,
Okay.
you know, okay, this is making sure things are off.
Yeah.
So it's not a combo.
Yeah.
Additionally, you're building a public building, that you have general liability as opposed to a.
I agree with that.
Thanks.
Additional discussion on geotechnical engineering proposals for the good of the city. Hearing none, roll call please.
Betty,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Debbie Harr,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Emo,
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Do we have any other?
Item number 9, consideration of purchase ordinance, 4871.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Betty,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Debbie Harr,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Emo,
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Item 10, consideration of payroll ordinance 4869 and 4870.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Becky, yes, Emo.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Debbie Harr,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Debbie.
Yes.
Item 11, any others from the council this evening? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
Thank you for the second on the motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same